Good Tuesday evening. Chris
That
is
opening
rocking
is
in the
like,
free world, but
yeah,
you're supposed to do that at the end.
yeah.
Good Tuesday evening. That gentleman rocking out's Chris Harris. My name is John Newman from Sports Card Nation. This is the Tuesday edition of Hobby Hotline, and last but not least, and he's a rare Tuesday appearance. I could be wrong here, but I believe it's the first time we've had the man, the myth, not the myth, the man in the legend, Mr. James Beckett, Dr. James Beckett, on a Tuesday night.
First Tuesday card.
There you go. This is making his Tuesday debut.
First Tuesday.
Yeah. And speaking of that, real quick, just some house cleaning pertaining to the show. We're not going away. We're just changing a little bit. This will be the last non-first Tuesday that we do, meaning we'll do a Tuesday show, but it'll only be the first Tuesday of every month. And then we'll be on every Saturday on Bench Clear, the first Tuesday on Hobby Hotline. So that way it'll keep a lot of fresh faces and that sort of thing, and it'll allow more time between shows for news to develop as well. So we're talking about different stuff. That's really one of the big reasons there. So if something big in the hobby breaks, a big news story, we'll do kind of an all hands on deck special broadcast. But that'll be the format going forward. So. Dr. Jim, I'll kind of start with our first topic, which is more up your alleys than mine and Chris's. To be honest, you went last year. You're not. You mentioned to me before we started you're not going this year, but it starts Thursday. It's the Mint Collective. This will be the second one. Like I mentioned, you went to the first one last year. This seems to be settling in, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is like a networking event. You got a lot of panels, uh, topic discussions. There is a card show that's attached to it. There's definitely celebrities in the house. Peyton Manning heads that list. I probably couldn't name them all, but that's probably the biggest name on the top of the list. I saw today they're added a couple of the guys from Jackass, the show, but there's others there as well. Just from your experience last year, for those that haven't went, myself included, what does this event, what's its place in the hobby, and is this something we'll see every year?
It was a great event last year. I think it was. Most events when they start out, they crawl before they can walk, before they can run. Well, they really hit the ground running. It was very well supported by the sponsors. They did not make a profit last year. I hope that in the future they'll be making a profit, because that's how things really ought to continue. But I was, if I were looking for a job, it's probably the best weekend. Now, last year I went for 2 days. I came in one day and left the next day. And it was a 3-day combined event with a trade show and seminars and things. This time it's 4 days, and so I just kind of made the decision. I'm not gonna. There's certain events I'm going to go to, but perhaps not every year. If I were younger, I'd absolutely be there. If I were unemployed or looking for a job or looking to make contacts to build my business, I would be there. It doesn't mean I wouldn't be at the summit or some of the other, tops and upper deck events, or the national, especially the national. I've made a determination I'm going to go that every year as I'm able. But this is just a busy time for me, and I'll probably go next year. But I don't really have hobby goals that require me to be there. And so I don't think it's an every year thing. But when people ask me if they should go, generally the answer is yes, John. I mean, if you're a content creator, there's all kinds of content out there, and a lot of the key leaders in the industry are out there. So I thought it was absolutely terrific. One thing that's going to change the character of it, which is what how it is not like the National by adding another day and adding more, probably a little more card show aspect to it. I don't see that necessarily as negative, but I don't necessarily see it as positive either. For me, when I was out there, the pull of the card show was not so great that I felt, hey, I really need to see what's out there. I mean, I walked through it a few times, uh, and it was more corporate, not corporate booths, but just corporate presence where there were some startups there. But looking at cards, it's not where you'd go for that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm getting my fill of that. I'm getting every other month with Kyle here
Yeah.
in the Dallas area. So I give it a 5 star in terms of the delivery, the execution, and the audience. And it's great. I mean, it's like the conferences I like the best are the ones that not only are you going to hear some great speakers, but the people you're sitting next to in the audience are almost equally interesting. There's some really dedicated people there, and so I'm real high on it. I'm just not going to go this year.
Yeah. For me, I get it's funny. I do get an invite, full transparency, but with being in the teaching niche, as you see right during the week. Could I get the days off? Probably, but it'd be a little tricky. But maybe one of these years, I'm going to go ahead and kind of plan ahead, and take 2 days off and get out there. Airfare is not the cheapest either. I don't want to make it just to be my teaching schedule alone, but it's something I do want to attend. It seems interesting. I know in talking to you when we did our what you'd like to see from the national kind of different. You even mentioned maybe more these hobby panels and discussions like this, and the Mint definitely checks those boxes. Chris, being in Philadelphia, this like for me, this would be a trip for you. You're a show guy. Is this when you see this and you know what's coming? Is there any FOMO for you, or it's
Well,
just something that doesn't move the
first of
needle?
all, it's a shame that this is taking place the same weekend as the Chantilly show,
Yeah,
which is where I think I'm going to be on Sunday. So be on the lookout. Um, there just doesn't seem to be that much buzz around this show as around the Mint Collective this year as there was last year. And I guess that has to do with last year being the first time it happened, the novelty of it being the first year. Um, I'm seeing a lot of ads for the Mint Collective on my Facebook scroll, which kind of suggests to me that ticket sales for this year might not be where they were last year. I know they did cut the price of the tickets a lot. I know last year the top of the line ticket was $999, and I think this year it's down to $599.
mhm,
The thing that I have with the Mint Collective is, don't we already have an event like this in the industry summit? And I want to ask Dr. Beckett, because you were at the Mint Collective last year. Could you maybe compare and contrast the difference between the Mint Collective and the industry summit, which also has taken place the last couple of years in Las Vegas?
Well, Chris, if you turn back the clock and go back 10, 15, 20 years ago, the Mid Collective evokes the original industry summit that Kit Young had, that
Young, yeah, and
Rousey
Boy.
took over, and then Kevin Isaacson and our company. And so that legacy, what it used to be, is more similar. The industry summit now, as my former company does, it's the industry's not divided necessarily in a negative way, but it just seems like there are different alignments to where you've got Panini, Tops, Upper Deck, Fanatics, Leaf, all these different, and it's just interesting to try to get them all together in the same room. And I think that's the goal of all these events. The fact that the Mint Collective has eBay as a presenting kind of a title sponsor, and Omaha Productions with Peyton Manning, they've got a lot going for them. But to be able to bring everybody in under the same tent is necessary. And really, the only time that happens is at the national. I think Beckett's Industry Summit would love to have that too. The Mint Collective. What I like is that a number of these well-known brands in the industry are coming together. So I think my buddies at Beckett Media have been very cooperative in co-promoting and sponsoring, and there's a mutuality there that I love to see. That if we can make the pie bigger, that's cool. That's cool. That's how we're going to grow the industry, and that's good for everybody.
Yeah, I like Logan trying to win comment of the night, piggybacking off Chris's comment. Does less buzz make it the Near Mint Collective? I don't know. I
Near
think
Mint to Mint Plus.
But a lot of times too with events, if it's not sold out right and they're getting to the week of, you're going to get that reduced ticket sales to, sell as many tickets as you can. I'm sure people who pay full price won't be excited about that, but that's not really a new concept per se. But Chris, let me, you didn't really, I'll ask you if it was closer, if distance wasn't really a factor, would this be on your radar? Or would this be not on?
Oh yeah, I like I've always wanted to go to the industry summit. It's just that it's on the other side of the country. If the industry summit or the Mint Collective were in, say, Chicago, Atlanta, Orlando, Delaware, yeah, I'd go. I mean, just as a collector, I just want to, see how some of the sausage is made,
Look, guys,
Dr. Jim, go ahead, Dr.
Instinctual problem here, and it's the success of the national has led to huge crowds and unbelievable representation of corporate sponsors as well as dealers as far as the eye can see. That makes it difficult to do what you want to do. I mean, the hotels are full, the aisles are full, getting around, finding people is difficult. So the Mint Collective needs to be careful. I mean, they don't need to have tens of thousands of people there and a huge card show thing. If they have a smaller card show that's more presenting some dealers and some of these new entities, these new technology companies, like they had last year, it's not as much of a distraction from what the main thing that you could do at the Mint Collective that you can't do at the National is you're not competing with thousands of booths, and you're not shoulder to shoulder trying to find somebody. So smaller attendance is not necessarily bad. Some of the really elite trade shows in industries, the high-end ones, are not looking for numbers. They're looking for the quality of the attendee. And I think the Mint Collective achieved that last year. And they're going the wrong direction if they try to go for more numbers with more tables, the kind of thing that the Nationals are. The Nationals still fun, but don't compete with the National. Be your own high-end event.
So you're saying, I mean, I don't want to misquote you, Dr. Jim. If you're a collector and you're just going there for the show, it's you may, I don't want to say disappointed, but if you're thinking it's going to be like the National,
Bad
it's
idea.
not going to be on that. Yeah,
if you live in Las Vegas, you can go to the show, but to fly in just for the show, it wasn't worth it last time. Now, if you're looking for a job, it's again at the National. If you're looking for a job and you're trying to meet with somebody, they've got 99 other people to meet with. At this, it's more carpeted. It's more first class. It's I mean, this is just a very different environment. So I'm not encouraging them to make the card show so great that they have a bunch of people there that don't fit with the overall industry aspect, so this is more of an industry event than a hobby event. And the national still is mainly a hobby event, I think, and secondarily an industry event.
All right, let's get some hellos in here. Sports MD card collector Steven, Dylan Double D, good evening. Brendan Ryan, how are you? Foul 5 ball. Logan Ward is in the house. Hodges, 1455. Danny Black's in the room. Herman, good to see you. Collector's Dream, Eric Stefano, Jeremy Lee, who says, evening, gentlemen. Nice to see you, Dr. Beckett. No mention of us, but that's okay. I'm only kidding with Jeremy. And Jeremy Lee's going. I believe he went last year, and I know he's going this year. He's more than welcome if he wants, not to push him, but he's more than welcome to call in if he wants to, add his experience or thoughts there as well. I think I said collector's dream, but yeah, I mean, it says you mentioned last year, Dr. Jim, that they didn't make money or maybe even lost a little.
No, maybe. No, maybe.
Yeah, they did.
They lost six-figure money.
Okay. Is that something where if that was a trend where an event like this, as good as it might be or great as it might be, might, go away just from, it's not sustainable cost-wise? Is that a fear or
Well,
a concern?
it wouldn't be a fear for a company like Fanatics.
Yeah.
So to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars at the same time gathering all the influencers and the biggest customers in your industry to come together, that's there's a lot of industries where they're flying their big customers and wine them and dine them and show them what's going on. This is not exactly that, but there's some big hitters here that are thinking bigger than just whether they're making money this year. And again, hats off to Collectible. I think they're thinking that way. And you can see you've heard the announcements. They've expanded, broadened their business in the last year. So and they'd have trouble doing that if they didn't have the awareness that they're jumping out there and taking bold action to try to help build the industry. Along the way, they're building their own business.
Yeah. Jeremy, I'm going to post the link. I know he asked for it in the chat. There you go. Let me put it on the screen as well. There we go.
I want to ask Dr. Beckett one
more
question about the Mint Collective. Do you think over the long run, the hobby can support essentially 2 industry summit type programs, both the Mint Collective and the industry summit? Or is it going to shake out? Can Omaha Productions, IMG, and the people throwing the Mint Collective continue to take losses every year over this?
I don't see it exactly the way you see it, Chris. I mean, I think the national is the hobby event, hobby slash.
I'm not talking about the national. I'm talking about the Mint Collective and the industry summit.
That is the first tier, and it doesn't compete with anything. It's its own entity. What I'm pointing out is that I think the next distinction you're saying is the Mint Collective versus the industry summit, and I think the Mint Collective as it is in this second group that's going to be smaller attendance than the national, but very high end, more on private equity, CEOs, presidents, opinion leaders, and that's not what the summit is doing. The summit has some of that. What I'd like to see the consolidation is with Tops's. I think the industry summit is a dealer event, for professional dealers as well as local card shops. And I think they do an excellent job of that. And I'd like to see it be consolidated with the Tops and the Upper Deck dealer events where they got plenty of airtime because it's a lot of the same people. Those are the competitors to me. And I'd like to see more cooperation there. And I really think that could happen. If I were in charge, I'd try to figure out how I could make that work. But to me, the Mint Collective is not in the same space as the Industry Summit, because it's like I said, I said it's has a corporate feel to it of the dealers, the Industry Summit dealers, Chris, are not gonna. They don't want to. It's a nicer hotel. It's a nicer everything, and the pressure on the National is to keep the table fees lower. The pressure on the Summit is for local card shops. They can't drop $5,000 to go to an event that's to find out about the latest technology. They can read about it, or they can watch it virtually. But they will go to a trade event with other dealers, learn best practices, get a spectacular goodie bag, which is what the Industry Summit attempts to do, and I think does that pretty well. Jeremy, you with me on that?
Jeremy Lee.
Yeah, I think when you're trying to sort of distinguish the difference between the Industry Summit and the Mint, I think the Industry Summit is a little narrower of an event than the Mint. The Mint is for like everybody in the industry, all the different companies, stakeholders at all levels. And I felt, and it was my first time being at the Industry Summit this past year in person. I was at the virtual one too. It seemed like that's more really for the card companies and the LCSs around the world. And it's for the card companies and the product companies to show their wares to the LCSs and maybe the breakers as well. Whereas Mint Collective seems to be broader. It seems to be from an industry perspective to want to include all different stakeholders in the hobby versus, again, because you've got the marketplaces, you've got more and more, and they're really trying to make it an educational conference now, with Friday being carved out as just content, panels, breakout sessions. But there is overlap. There's definitely overlap between them.
Now, you went last year, right? Correct, Jeremy?
Yes.
So you'll be attending all with the second one this year. It's bigger. It's extended a couple of days. Dr. Beckett mentioned they were in the red last year. I'll ask the same question to you. Is that a fear? Like if an entity continues to maybe not profit or pay the bills, surrounding an event, is the fear that it may go away unless someone else maybe comes in, like Dr. Beckett mentioned Fanatics. Is that something? I mean, what do you think about that?
I think that's a logical outlook. If it's not going to be profitable, who's going to keep on throwing good money after bad? But I would say that, in most businesses that I've been familiar with, they don't expect to be profitable in their first 3 years, as a general rule. And the Mint Collective hasn't even had its second year yet. So yeah. I wouldn't really look to throw it under the rug or say it's not going to be successful until 13 months from now. Once they've had 3 events under their belts, and it's evolved a lot, I believe, since last year. You said it's a couple days longer. There's a Thursday night welcoming party of sorts, Friday content, Saturday, Sunday marketplace, which is, the fancy word for card show. So I don't think I am ready to say it's not going to be a success yet, but the hobby's in a different place than it was a year ago. It could be tougher. Apparently they've added square footage to the marketplace, so it might be the card show might be better than it was last year. But also from my perspective, last year's card show was better than I was expecting. There were more booths than I was expecting there to be, so I was pleasantly surprised. I just want to say, John, when I said hello, I saw you and Chris last night on another call, so I hadn't seen Dr. Beckett in a while. So I just want
to I know. I was just, but me, I was just busting your chops. So, I want to add, this year you're going to in a different sort of capacity. You've always been Jeremy Lee Sports Cards Live, even last year, but now you're going, with tag representation. What's your approach? How different will it be this year comparatively to last year when that wasn't the case?
Well, I mean, I'll have a home base. I'll have my tag colleagues there at the booth that I'll be able to spend time with, and put my bag down, that sort of thing. Friday at 2:00 local, I'm moderating a panel which is called "The Hobby in 2028." It's got Jesse Craig from PWCC. It's got Scott Roskine from Beckett Grading and Beckett Services, and it's got also David Liner from Fanatics, the president of trading cards there. So I'm personally really excited to moderate that panel, and I've met two of those three people before. I don't know David Liner yet, so I'm excited for that to meet somebody from Fanatics who's a senior executive. So that won't be as me representing Tag. I won't be wearing a Tag shirt for that. I'll be there as Jeremy Lee Sports Cards Live. But during the marketplace, when Tag does have its booth, yeah, I'll be at that booth and walking the floor a little bit. So it's not going to change a lot for me, John. I'm still going to be me and just enjoy seeing everybody and just enjoying the hobby environment. And I'm excited for the card show. I'm looking forward to looking through showcases and hopefully finding a few cards to pick up.
You have a favorite thing? I'll ask you, and then Dr. Jim as well. Is there a favorite thing that you look forward to? Is it the panels, that sort of thing? Is that something you put like first on your list, or not necessarily?
I mean, I'm looking forward to the panels. Today they sent out a survey and I've selected the ones that I was intending to go to. So I am looking forward to the panels. It's hard to pick one, John. The panels, the card show, and the people. I mean, as you like to say, I'm looking forward to the people, the collectors, the fellow content creators, people that have been on my show and shows. I'm looking forward to seeing people. I've got all sorts of coffees, kind of arranged, and different things to do and people to see. So it's a different for me, it's a different excitement than going to the National or the Expo in Toronto or Burbank. It's just different because people recognize this isn't your typical card show. This isn't for everybody in the hobby, and not to say that it's an elite thing, because I don't think it is. Everybody's invited to the marketplace part of it. If you want to pay the fare, you can come to the content part too. But it's, I think Dr. Beckett said it well. If you're looking for a job in the industry, it's a great place to go. I've told at least two people that. I've said, come and be ready to shake hands and have your game face on, be ready to show who you are and meet people, because there could be opportunities in the room to get a job. And I think that probably is the case at the National too, but I think this is more formal that way, or at least more of the hiring companies would be willing to or expecting to maybe, meet some candidates for the first time.
Jeremy, you've got a year's worth of guests at the event. You could book a whole year's worth of your show, because that's the caliber of the people there. Now they're at the National too, but it's a higher density. And there are a bunch at the Summit as well. But this is John Wee, center stage. He's I guess he probably was at the Summit and the National as well too. So some of these people are at all these things.
But it's nice to see the same people regular. It's not like we're seeing them every weekend. We're seeing them 2 or 3 times a year, between the industry summit, the Mint, the National, along with other regional shows and big shows. But yeah, you're right, Dr. Beckett. It's an opportunity for me. I go to all these events with a mentality of wrangling guests for my show moving into the future. It's a great opportunity for that. You're right. Yeah.
Dr. Jim, just kind of to close out this segment, is there, last year you went, I know you said you're not going this year. Is there something high on your list that is the thing you look forward to the most when you attend an event like this?
Well, I'm going to miss it. It's just that I'm retired. So I don't think I need to be obligating myself to go to something. I'm actually going to go to Bill Huggins' funeral week. And so I just told my wife, I said, I'd love to go to the Mint Collective. It was a great time, great people, but I'm not. And I told Ezra, I'm not going to get. There's certain events I just am not going to commit to be there every year, and the National's the only one. And so I'm going to hit more funerals or other kinds of one-off events that are meaningful to me, and because I'm not looking for a job.
You don't want to come back?
I'm not. So you're saying there's a chance?
All right, guys, Jeremy, you're welcome to stay. I'm not kicking you off. We're gonna move on to our next topic, which is Fanatics making the round at some of the bigger card shows and what that might mean. You're welcome to stay.
Yeah, I got a few more. I'll stay on for a few more minutes if that's all right.
Okay. All right. Let me. I'll put up the slide here. It's a picture of Michael Rubin. Not the greatest clarity, but it gets the point across. He was at the Philadelphia show, which is in his backyard. But he also went out to California. There are reports that there are some other brass from Fanatics making the rounds to the show. I haven't heard from Chris, so we'll let him go first here. This is your guy in your backyard. I don't know if it's your guy, but he's a Philly guy. Is this obviously it's a good thing, but what is the motive here, right? You hear two different things from two different people. Is this for the consumer? Is this Fanatics trying to gauge the temperature of the hobby and where it's at for maybe some future decision making? How do you perceive this, Chris, in your opinion?
I think it's great that they're out there. I think it's great that they're talking to collectors. We haven't really seen a whole lot of that lately. It depends on what they do with this feedback, I think it's great that a lot of the top executives are out, going to card shows and talking to collectors.
Anyone who wants to chime in. I mean, what do you think? Are they fact finding? I mean, what do you think is the purpose? If you had to guess, obviously it's all speculation, right? Other than if they,
I would hope it would be some kind of fact finding to actually talk to and listen to collectors and see what they want in a product. I'm just speculating. I didn't run into him at the Philly show a couple of weeks ago. Kind of wish that I did. I had a few things on my mind that maybe go into the top. But just having the higher ups just walking the floor, how is that bad?
Well, yeah, I don't think it's bad, but I was just wondering what people thought was going on. I mean, someone will be right and someone is going to be wrong if the answers are different. I mean, Dr. Jim, kind of your thoughts.
If I turn the clock back 30 years, and I'm being a little bit facetious here, but our very worst critics 30 years ago would say that I was paying for guys to go around the country and pretend to listen. Because we were just doing a price guide of whatever we wanted to do, ignoring the data, ignoring what people said. So we had people out there pretending to listen. I'm quite sure that Michael Rubin and his associates are not pretending to listen, and we weren't either. And you're going to pick up stuff right there. In fact, a lot of the stuff I picked up at shows back in the day was not people saying things to me, but things I overheard. And so if they're just in the flow, because when you're talking directly to somebody, you tell them what you think. A lot of people say what they think you want to hear. But if he's really picking up on the vibe of the show and getting a good feeling for the collector mindset and mentality, then he can't unhear that. He's going to have understanding that he wouldn't otherwise have. So, like I said, he's not out there pretending to listen or making a show. There's an expense. His time is valuable, and I'm glad he's there. And I hope it's a regular thing, not just for him, but the people that are farther all the way down the chain. We encouraged our employees, whether they're collectors or not, to go to some card shows to go into some card shops. You just have to understand the mindset of the collector.
Jeremy?
I like the way Double D Vintage said they're getting a pulse on the hobby. I think that's what it is. You kind of asked John, is it fact finding? I think it's exactly like Double D says, that they want to feel the energy, get a pulse, talk to people. I don't think they're out there with a notepad deciding how to structure, next year's set of baseball cards. I think they're there feeling things out, just like they went into Burbank Sports Cards couple days ago, and Rob Veras did a nice job capturing that on video. I loved what Michael Rubin did with that little girl. Not only all of a sudden was she FaceTiming with Devin Booker, but if you watch till the end, he said to her after, Devin wants your address, he's going to send you a signed jersey. Like, is that a sign of things to come? Because if I'm Michael Rubin, I'm going to remember the elation on this young girl's face. I'm going to remember it was a girl. I'm going to remember that she was probably 12 years old. That's the future. And that's also showing that we can grow. The hobby can grow. There is the potential for many more women to be in the hobby, coming in as kids, as like this girl was. I think that was a great sign for the whole hobby to see a young girl be so excited and in the card shop. Michael Rubin there with her. I've seen Mike Mahan at the Burbank show, or the first Burbank show last August. Now we see him, with Michael Rubin in Burbank Sports Card. So listen, I mean, I don't think these are the guys that are on the front lines of the trading card production, but they are the guys kind of making the big decisions. And so I think it's very important that they're there. And maybe part of it was also to signal to the hobby that they are out there and wanting to get a pulse on the hobby, coming back to Double D's comment, which I think was bang on. So I think it's a great thing. And it's, I'll just leave it. I think it's a really good thing.
Yeah, a great video, like you pointed out, Jeremy, from Burbank with Rubin and that young lady. The other thing I took away from that video that warmed my heart, as someone who started as a kid many moons ago, if you looked in the background of that video, you notice quite a few kids in the store. I'm assuming enjoying the hobby, and that's always, whenever I see that, that's always a thumbs up from me. That's a big platform of mine. So that I took that away as well. It's good to see young people in general enjoying the hobby. We always hear it's too expensive for them, but there's many ways to hobby in different ways where it still can be affordable for all. So when I see those, I think it was 2 or 3 young boys there in the back. I was glad to see them in the LCS enjoying the hobby, and obviously that young lady's day was, or probably year was made really that day
For youth.
Yeah, for me, it's I like
the life there. So
yeah, for sure.
Guys, compare the little girl to the Mint Collective. Okay, the lifetime value of that little girl as a customer is unlikely to approach in any way Devin Booker's jersey. Okay, but the value of that interaction and that situation cannot be just quantified, and whether it wasn't a transaction that she's going to be a customer and give this much money. It's a loser financially, but in the overall grander scheme of things, it's a huge win. And I believe Mint Collective can be the same way. It doesn't have to every deal or every event doesn't need to make financial sense if you're really making the pie bigger. What he did for that little girl is really going to make the pie bigger, probably because everybody's going to say, hey, I want a jersey too. Can you connect me with my favorite player? By the way, I'd like Luka.
Which you can.
Hey, do you know Michael Jordan yet? But no, I'm glad to see him out there. For years, I don't know how true, Dr. Jim or Jeremy or Chris, you want to chime in. For years, I don't, Topps got the rap that they were kind of sitting on their hands and not doing stuff like that, or kind of set in their ways or resting on their laurels. So if that's the case, it's nice to see maybe a new the new regime, which is what it is, sort of getting out there in the trenches and at least listening, right, to what collectors and consumers have to say. I mean, to your
Having an
recollection,
exclusive license for over a dozen years will tend to do that,
yeah.
rest on your laurels. And as much as it's great that guys like Michael Rubin are out there, I'd love to see some of the more lower level guys like on the Clay Lurashki, Jeremy Fullerton level do the same thing, just show up at a random card show in middle America
But
and just walk the aisles. And
do we know that they're not, though, Chris? I'm not saying
Huh?
they are, but do we know that they're not? You know what I
Have
mean?
you seen Clay Lurashki at a card show?
I seen him at the
Over the years,
National.
I have.
I see him at the National. I don't see him
It is a
walking the
card
aisles.
show. Yeah, I hear you. Well, we don't know. You know, Michael Rubin's obviously going to get more attention than Clay Lurashki. You know, some people probably don't even know who we're necessarily talking about. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, Michael Rubin, a little more, polarizing, if you will, or well known, even outside of the card space. So I'm not saying they're going to shows, and you might be exactly right, Chris, but you know what I mean? It's Michael Rubin's going to be probably recognized before Clay is my point. Like, and I don't know if he is or he isn't going, but maybe that's maybe that's in the works as well. Maybe this is the start of something, an initiative they want to do and get out there more and have more of a presence there and kind of, to me it shows, hey, listen, we care enough to be here. Well, we got to hear we're going to hear what you're going to say, whether we want to or not, because we're here and you're probably going to come up to us and give us your opinion. Like you said, you would. So I'm sure other people are much the same, good and bad. So I'm taking it as a good thing. I hope good things come from it in the long range of it. I mean, the optics are good. So, I like that. Go ahead, Dr. Jim.
Well, one more point. Let me stick up for my friend Clay. I've known him for almost 30 years. So the distinction I want to make, and it goes back to the Mint Collective again, but what we're saying is that within the Fanatics or Tops organization, certain people that have not been in the hobby for 30 years need to be going to these card shows. They need to be availing themselves of every opportunity to get the pulse. I think Clay probably already has the pulse because he's lived in our neighborhood for 30 years. So if you're not a 30-year veteran or 60-year veteran or 50-year veteran like some of us are, you don't have to go to the Mint Collective if you're not looking for a job. But if you're a 5-year veteran or a 3-year veteran or you've been in the industry since COVID, Mint Collective is wow. I mean, that's something you can handle and you can meet the people. And so, so like I said, I think with the newer people in the industry need to be going to all these events. And so I'm very pleased that anybody and everybody out of Fanatics, if they're not already a veteran collector, they need to be immersive. And I frankly, I think Mint Collective is maybe an easier entree into the hobby or to the industry than the National, which is pretty overwhelming. You can get an appointment. You can go to a panel and be on the 4th row instead of the, trying to find somebody in the maze of booths.
Yeah, I get lost. I can't find myself sometimes at the Nationals. So, that's a great point, Dr. Jim. It's a smaller room, right, where people are probably a little more approachable or easier to find in the very least. And so it's an event. It's an event I plan on going someday. I just got to make all the the arrangements, get some time off from work.
Again, John, even the way it's configured, it's not crammed.
Yeah.
Jeremy remembers last year, you walk into the showroom and about a third of the room is open space with some cocktail tables that the first night were really pretty full. And so they make it easy for you to connect with other people. The hobby is the people. So you walk into the National, and you're immediately overwhelmed with which direction do I go, and I can't even see to the end of the room.
And the
So that's
carpet.
why it's good for these people that are not as have not been to as many card shows. It's a good taste and a high end taste with a high caliber of people because they had to pay more to get there.
I mentioned the carpet, but it's if you're new to the hobby and the Mint Collective is your first card show experience, you're gonna be let down afterwards because and so is the lower half of your body when you go to one of these shows and you on the concrete floors. But yeah, Dr. Beckett's right that you walk in there and it's almost like the difference between walking into a cocktail party versus walking into a beer gardens. If you to make that analogy between Mint and National as an example. And it's just, I think it's a function really of where it is. It's at the MGM. It's a really nice location for it to be. Everyone stays at the MGM. You're not it's Vegas, so you don't have to go outside once. I said to my wife, I said, I'm probably not going to go outside from Wednesday night till I leave on Monday. So not that that's a good thing or I'm bragging about it. It's just kind of, that's the way it is, whereas at any other card show, you got to Uber to the show or you got to, whatever it is you got to do. It's just again, to wrap up my thoughts on the Mint Collective. If you want to be immersed in the hobby the way I do and the way I am, and you three guys are or have been in your careers, it's to me it's a must attend event for me, for what I do and how I am, what my position is and role is in the hobby. And I think again comes down to I guess what it is you're looking to get out of the hobby. And if that is not just being a collector, because if you're just a collector, I don't know that I'd fly from the East Coast to the West Coast for this. But if you're coming with some ulterior motives, like learning from the panels or networking to find a consulting role or employment, or if you're a content creator and you want to come and create content, or you want to come and line up guests for shows and collaborations, then it's all there.
Jeremy, the number one thing is networking, because the content is eventually going to be available, and there's virtual options for a lot of that stuff, but it's hard to make a virtual friend. I know people think they have, but it's way more effective if you're in the same room with the person, and you've done a great job of that. I'm just saying, you don't put people on your show that you haven't spent some time with. Now, some of that's virtual, but to meet the person. The hobby is the people, and so it's a quantum difference between meeting them all over Zoom and meeting them in real life. So and that's one of the best opportunities for doing that. I believe that the panels can be syndicated, can be recorded. Eventually, you can get the content, but you can't meet the person unless you're there. You must be present to really win, I think.
Yeah, the content may not be syndicated. I don't think it was last year. I know the Industry Summit doesn't syndicate their content, or at least they didn't during the virtual, but there will be people covering this and reporting. So I think there will be several people. So you will get the content. You're just not going to get it.
And you won't get the full thing, but you'll get, you'll get more than the Cliff Notes version. You'll know what's going on from all the content creators, but being there is way different. And like I said, it's if you're, it kind of means, I won't say I'm not a player in the industry, but I'm already a player whether I go or not. But I'm an older guy now, and so if I were younger, I would not miss it. I would absolutely not miss it. And I made all those industry summits back when our company wasn't doing it. I made every one except the first one for the first 30 years or something. But I think I'm entitled to take a pass every once in a while. So, and I'll watch your show and some of these others, and I'll be in the know. I'll just be 24 hours behind.
That's not so
Well, you got
bad.
to keep your national streak going, Dr. Jim. That's
I'm
for
going to
sure.
keep that going.
All right, let's we'll move on to probably what'll be our last top. Jeremy, this is kind of right up your alley too, enticing you to stick around. But Upper Deck's announcement with their new configurations for next year's flagship, and I'll put a banner up here that highlights it here. Let me take that off the screen. So this will be for 2023-24. They're going to do the boxes are going to get smaller. They're going to go from 24 packs, guys, down to 12. There'll be 12 cards in a pack, though, instead of 8. So it's going from 192 cards a box to 144. So you're going to get about 48 less cards in total. There are 3 inserts per pack. So you're going to get more inserts. That equates to 36 inserts per box. There's some new inserts. I don't have that. You can go to Cardboard Connection, Beckett. We'll have that all laid out there. But they're doing some for the first time ever. As you see on the screen, you got Outburst Golds, which are 1 of 1s for the first time. High Glosses to 10. Outburst Red to 25. Exclusives remain at 100. Deluxe 250. Clear Cuts at 148. 1 out of every 48 packs. 1 in 144 on the hobby side. And Silver's 1 in 15. So this is a new wrinkle. I'm going to pull this off the screen here. I can put it back at any time. This is a new wrinkle. I know Jeremy is a big
and
hockey
you're still getting
guy.
6 Young Guns in a box too. So.
Yeah, so you're still going to get the same amount of Young Guns. I heard Jeremy on his show say, and I agree with him, the big reason for this, and he's here, I'll let him say it himself, is obviously Connor Bedard is going to be a Young Gun in that product, and he is one of the biggest prospects to come along in the NHL in quite some time, if you believe the hype. And we'll start with Jeremy. I mean, you're I would say in this room you're probably would qualify as the hockey expert. Your thoughts? You like this? The jury's out. You're waiting to see how it all shakes out. Where do you fall on this new configuration?
I'm okay with the configuration. I'm okay with a few less cards per box, as long as the quality you're getting, i.e. inserts 3 per pack, sounds pretty good to me. So if they're taking out base cards and replacing them, with some more interesting cards, that's good by me. I don't collect Upper Deck base sets anymore, so I'm personally okay with it. The new Young Gun parallels from that graphic you showed, there's going to be 276 more serial numbered Young Guns than ever before. We've had the exclusives out of 100, High Gloss out of 10. We only ever had 110 of them. Now you're going to have 110 plus 276, the 250, the 25, and the 1 of 1. Listen, I'm okay with it. I'm curious to see what impact this will have on the existing parallels, the High Gloss and the exclusives. But you're right, John, as you heard me mention the other day on Saturday, that this is happening simply because of Connor Bedard. I don't think Upper Deck makes this change if not for Connor Bedard. I think that when they were planning the product, they said, okay, guys, we have a once in about 10-year opportunity to do something, shake things up. How should we do it? And this is what they've come up with. So I like that they're changing things up a little bit. I think that's good. I like that evolution. I wonder what, introducing a Young Gun out of 25, what does that do to the Young Gun out of 100? And how interesting is the Young Gun out of 250 going to be now? Or are people going to chase the exclusives out of 100? What does the 1 of 1 do to the High Gloss out of 10, which has always been the big prize for hockey collectors? Does the 1 of 1 make the out of 10 more redundant or less desirable? I don't know. I doubt it, but I don't know. So I'm happy they're doing it. It's all because of Connor Bedard. They're going to print more product this year than ever before if they can get the printing capacity. And so I think that the Bedard Young Gun is going to come out at a very high price, and probably justifiably so. I think from what I've seen, he's that good. So he's the best prospect in hockey since Connor McDavid, who was the best prospect in hockey since Sidney Crosby, who was the best prospect in hockey since Mario Lemieux. So it's a nice lineup there.
Chris, Dr. Jim. Go ahead, Dr. Jim.
Chris, you want to jump in? Because I've got two things. Maybe he wants me to go. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're up.
Okay. First of all, when I'm at the National, I'm going to spend half the time at the dollar boxes and half the time wandering around. You've probably got a better chance of catching me at a dollar box. They won't all be at the singles club, but feel free to interrupt me or pull up a chair, because I'm camped out and I'm happy to visit and do stereo or whatever I need to do. So I don't have headphones on. Don't mind being interrupted. Okay. Having said that, I was the price guide guy for so many decades, and the subtle change in this product at Upper Deck, I agree with Jeremy, the Connor Bedard thing. That's the time to reconfigure. But what Jeremy was saying, everything he said was right, but there's another thing going on there. When you look at the one of ones and the serial numbered things, you want to compare it to the previous year, but when they've changed the configuration of the pack and the box, the odds are different. When you look at a box of any product, hockey or whatever, they kind of have box odds on the front of the box of this is what you're going to get in this box. And it may be the same as what you're going to get the year before in terms of 2 autographs or something like that. However, on the pack odds, if it's 1 per 144 packs, that's no longer 1 per 6 boxes. It might be 1 per 12 boxes. So something that was 2 per case is now 1 per case. And so, and frankly, Jeremy, it means that the serial numbered cards are probably going to be tougher. They're going to be tough in terms of packs you'd have to buy. And so, but I think this is exactly the right strategy for Upper Deck. But they've taken it to another level. The packs are bigger. I don't think they kind of have to do that to show that they're not, increasing the price of the candy bar and shrinking the candy bar at the same time. So they're reconfiguring it, but make no mistake about it. When we were doing the case analysis, the better cards are going to be tougher. The pack odds cannot be interpreted in the same light as the previous year's pack odds, because a pack is worth more. It has more in it.
One thing not in that graphic I want to mention too, guys. The packs are going from $4.99, like previous, to $8.99. Again, there's also 4 more cards in the pack, so I guess those are going to be $1 each for comparing $4.99 to $8.99. Chris, you want to weigh in? I know you do a lot of it with the modern stuff. So
yeah, you are getting fewer cards in total in a box, though. And I'm
192 to 144.
Same price, though.
Well, it'll probably be the same price because the pack price is going from 5 to 9, but you're going from 24 to 12 packs.
Yeah, so 24 times 5 is 120. 12 times 9 is
108.
108. Yeah, it's a wash.
Nope.
A little cheaper, but you do get fewer cards in a box.
Yeah, but instead of getting 1 good card in a pack, I think you're going to get 3 good cards in a pack. But what are they really good? I mean, they're going to be.
They sound more like filler
inserts. They're going to be like an insert or something that's that's the 1 per pack inserts are not cheesy. They can be very attractive, but they're never going to have a lot of value.
Yeah, they're filler.
But there's going to be one thing in there that's good, and it might be a young gun, or it might be some serial numbered or something like that. So, like I said, I just think you've got to reanalyze and not think this is the same as the previous year. This is a shift, and it's probably a shift that most of the companies are going to be doing when they have this opportunity.
2 out of the 3 inserts per pack will be available on ComC at 27 cents each in no time.
Yeah. And the other one, and so it's all about that that final card, whether it's in the middle or in the end, whatever.
And
I
if you're
will say
still getting
this.
6 young guns in a box, and the box is going to be just a little bit cheaper now, I think that's good, isn't it?
Well, you're maybe twice as likely to get a young gun in a pack, but
Yeah.
it's twice as expensive.
I mean, you're going to get
Young
a
gun,
young gun in every other pack as opposed to one in every 4. So
something
I
like
will
that.
say this too, guys. Jeremy's right on, hit the nail right on the head with if you're going to do it in a Connor Bedard type year, right? But I'm sure Upper Deck took notice of, super fractors and 1-on-1s in other sports and what they saw those going in auctions and record breaking prices there too. And they didn't have an equivalent to that, and now they will. And if you're going to do that, right, if you're going to do the equivalent, it just like Dr. Jim and Jeremy said, it's the perfect year to do it when you have a hype prospect as Connor Bedard is, to do it. And so I think it's smart. I mean, I don't think, whether you like the decision or you don't, I think you can't really argue that it's not smart on Upper Deck's part to roll it out. You may not like it, but if you take a step back and don't have a selfish point of view, you say, man, they have to do this almost. The fact that they didn't really have 1-on-1s even before this is sort of surprising. But if you're going to initiate it, why not initiate it on a prospect such as Connor Bedard? It makes perfect sense.
And while they are adding more parallels to the product, which seems to be a theme across every product and it's still only 5 levels of parallels, and not the 50 or 60 that we see in certain other products. So it's not entirely being bloated to wholly
compared to last year. Compared to last
parallels.
year, my guess is it's twice as much. If you do you can reverse engineer the quantity that is being made, and with additional parallels, especially, it really gets the number of the number of packs and hence the number of cards way up there. My guess is they're twice as much, and maybe Connor Bedard deserves that. But I bet it's at least twice as many packs they have pro forma'd and projected for this year.
And it's like Michael Ham says here. I don't blame them. Get the money. I'm not saying before Fanatics takes over, but this is a once in 10-year opportunity for Upper Deck to have a really big year financially, and they are a for-profit company, whether collectors like it or not. That's the only reason they're in business, is to make profits. And this is a big opportunity for them. So the fact that they're making this change, they are increasing the hits per pack, but reducing the overall cards per pack per box. I think I'm like, they could have just reduced the cards. They would have sold the same amount of product. The fact that they're adding something interesting is, I think that's a good thing. I think that they're gonna get some negative feedback on this, but imagine what they would get if they didn't at least bulk out the value per pack that they are going to be giving with these additional inserts that I a few minutes ago said might only sell for 27 cents on ComC, but that's coming. The other thing I just want to mention before you wrap, John, is that the secondary price of the pack, which Michael Ham also said will be probably $20 a pack. I mean, that's going to be based completely on what a Connor Bedard regular young gun sells for out of the gate. Alexis Lafreniere's young guns were up to $500 before he ever stepped foot on the ice. Now they're $60. Different player. But if he was $400 to $500, I think Bedard is going to come out, and I've said it already, I think he's going to come out at $1,000 for a young gun, which is a lot of money. But I think it's going to go there. That's what's going to drive the secondary market price and the breaker value that they get out of breaking boxes and cases of the packs and the boxes. So watch that price. And it could be.
So I gotta ask you this after that comment, Jeremy. So you're saying, and I believe you based on the Lafreniere. I'm a Rangers guy, and I remember that. So you're saying a raw Bedard could hit 4 figures.
I think that's happening. I mean, and please, come back and tag me if I'm wrong when it comes out in November or whenever, or if it's whenever it comes out. But I believe it's going to be $1,000. The hobby is so much, because I mean, this is post-pandemic, hype. So yeah.
What's the one? Okay, based on that, and I don't think if you're off, you're not going to probably be off by much. So you're probably closer to right. What's the 1 of 1 worth at that point? What kind of number do we?
Listen. I think you're going to see, and I mean, I have no idea, John, but I wouldn't be surprised to see bounties for maybe one of the first or few early times in hockey. Anywhere between no less than 6 figures up to $250,000. I can see somebody saying they'll pay for that Bedard 1-of-1 Young Gun. It's because not only is it the Bedard 1-of-1, it's the first pack pulled Young Gun 1-of-1 ever. And it will be card number 201 in the set, which makes it, like the Griffey number 1 in 89. It's like the first Young Gun to ever have a 1-of-1, probably the best player since Connor McDavid to enter the league. Look at what cards sell for in this hobby, even in March 2023. $250,000 wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's hard to argue based on you do the calculations, right? And another great point, Jeremy. It's the first time Upper Deck's done 1-of-1, and it happens to be Connor Bedard. You know what I mean? You add in that factor, and it's
Connor Bedard and everybody else. I mean, all the parallels are for everybody. And so, are you going to be disappointed to get a 1-of-1 of somebody else? You will, but there's only one of the 1-of-1 of your player. And like I said, when you do the math and you forget all these parallels, and you're not even going to get one per pack. So the number of packs out there is going to be really, really big, because they've got to fit all these numbered cards in there. And you can't pack search, I don't think, very well on this product, because I think all the cards are standard thickness. So you can't play games there.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I tell you, it's gonna be a madhouse with people ripping that stuff open. If a certain breaker pulls 1-of-1 Bedard, I'm not even going to mention them. I don't even want to give them a plug, but everyone knows if they pull that, I might have to leave the hobby. That'll be
what, John. And I know you're in overtime here, but I have to ask, what does Bedard and the hype do? What does that do for hockey's position in the overall hobby amongst basketball, football, baseball, soccer, and the others? How does it, does this move hockey up a rung on the ladder? Right now, hockey's number 5, even behind soccer. Does this move hockey up past soccer now the World Cup is over for 4 years?
Yeah, I'd say yeah, but maybe I'm the wrong guy to ask. I'm more of a hockey guy than a soccer guy to begin with. So to me, it's already ahead of that, but just that's a personal preference. But yeah, I think it's a non-World Cup year. This is the first time Upper Deck's doing it. You've got this world-class prospect that everyone, people who aren't even hockey fans are talking about this young man. So this is outside the realm, goes past the realm of just, you have to be a hockey fan to know who this is. People who are not hockey fans are saying his name. So I think when you factor all that in, Jeremy, there's this stuff's going to be ripped open at a pace probably, even with all the new configurations and the SRP. This stuff's going to be ripped open at a faster pace. And like you mentioned, you're going to, a McDavid rookie, a PSA 9 McDavid's $1,500. You're already saying a raw Bedard could be $1,000. Why wouldn't you open a $9 pack? Yeah. Why wouldn't you open a $9 pack?
Well, look what Michael Ham said. He thinks the 1-of-1 will be $1 million card. I don't know that he's going to be wrong about that.
Jeremy, it's not about the wrong question. It's not about what standing, what ranking hockey has. This is huge for hockey. Whatever hockey was last year, it's going to be bigger and better next year. And I'm hoping Connor Bedard fulfills all of his potential. And so whether it's bigger than any sport or no sport, it's going to be bigger than it was. And that's going to bring additional collectors in the hobby. It's going to be good for all hockey cards and probably all other cards too, because it's going to strike a nerve. This is a great story of a guy that it could be an iconic player going forward.
Here's a great comment from Dylan. For those that don't know, Dylan's a huge vintage baseball collector. And here's a comment from him. All this hockey card talk makes me want to start collecting them again, right? So he may moonlight Graham and cross that line and he'll still collect vintage, right? But he's going to collect maybe modern hockey and open some like you just said, Dr. Jim. I think that's it's like the Griffey craze, right? People started opening baseball packs that were baseball card collectors, right? I think hockey may see that effect and then some, maybe multiply.
Well, we saw it. There's so many collectors that say, I got back in the hobby in 2005 when Crosby entered the league. Then there's a whole other group of collectors that say, I got back into the hobby in 2015 when McDavid entered the league. As Dr. Beckett just said, that's going to happen again with Connor Bedard. So regardless of how hockey ranks against the other sports, which is more of an ego thing as far as hockey collectors go, we want to be more recognized, and not we want to be more. We want the hockey hockey segment to be a little bit more recognized and not always be an afterthought. But like Dr. Beckett says, this is going to grow the hockey hobby and maybe help all hockey cards out in the short term here.
I think even if soccer has some wunderkind come and capture the imagination of the whole world this year, next year, whatever, that also can be good for hockey because it's going to be good for all cards. It's not a zero-sum game anymore. If you get a new collector in that's collecting soccer, they're going to say, oh, they got hockey cards too. If they don't know anything about hockey or soccer or basketball or football, I'm not saying collect. I'm saying collect what you like. If you're not a fan of the sport, it's pretty hollow to just collect pictures of players you can't relate to. But I believe there's a lot of overlap between soccer and hockey, basketball and hockey, football, baseball, everything. And so the gain of any one of them can be good for all of them. Again, you've got $10 to spend on a card, $100, $1,000, whatever. You can spend it more than one time because it's called MasterCard. But I think it's going to be good. So I think I'm bullish on hockey, Jeremy. And I think because of that, because the energy in hockey, it may be hockey's turn. And that might be what you're saying of having some, after 5 or 6 years of, maybe 6 or 7 years.
I'm sort of saying, Dr. Beckett, that, there was a time when the sports cards, it seems like you look at various logos in the hobby, various news outlets, and they'll talk about baseball, football, basketball, and they may or may not add hockey, or they'll talk about baseball, football, basketball, and soccer and wrestling, and they may not say hockey. There was a time when hockey was easily the third or fourth. You go onto eBay, look at the listings. Hockey would sometimes be ahead of football, sometimes behind football, but almost always behind baseball, and most often behind basketball. And then over the last 3 or 4 years, soccer has moved into that number 4 spot in just transactional volume. So, to me, hockey's more of a North American sport. I professionally, I would like to see it move back into the 4 spot. And I wonder if Bedard and this mania that he's going to bring will put hockey into the 3 spot. Can it get in and above football? Perhaps. I don't think it'll ever beat out baseball or basketball, not for decades, but maybe it could beat out football for a short time. I don't know, but that's kind of what I mean, Dr. Beck. I'd just I'm with
you. I mean, that's what we did in our company. Hockey was not a distant fourth. It was a wonderful fourth. We did great with hockey, and it was a terrific magazine, and it was a very important magazine for us. And we never did soccer really to any great degree. We did NASCAR, but that was way below.
To be fair, there really wasn't a whole lot of soccer to do back then.
No, but there was soccer out there. And again, with soccer, you got some confusion of leagues and player movement. Hockey is number 4 in my heart, Jeremy, if that makes you feel better. I just want vote. But
Dr. Beckett, that makes me feel
decisions
good.
I'm making it made in my company is that hockey is and it probably was. You're right. And if it comes back to that, Here. That's great.
And
But
Doctor, if
Fanatics may not be thinking that way because Upper Deck has hockey and Fanatics is going to double down on soccer as a global phenomenon.
if I remember correctly, Upper Deck did baseball first. I think they did hockey second, and then they did basketball, then football, if my memory serves me. So back in the late 80s, early 90s, hockey was more important, I believe, than it's come to be over the last 5-10 years.
The French.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah.
French hockey.
Versions. Yeah.
All right. Well, first off, Jeremy Lee, thanks for joining and staying on with us. That was awesome and mighty
Thank
kind
you
of appreciate it. Anytime, that door's always open as far as
Thank
we're
you.
concerned. So
It's been nice to visit with
we'll
you.
see you next set.
Yeah.
We'll see you next Saturday.
Okay, guys. Goodbye. Thank you for having me, everybody.
Yeah.
We'll see you later.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. All right, guys. We went a little overtime. That's all right. You can you hit the snooze button tomorrow morning one time, and then we're good. So, any last words? I don't want to, Chris, Dr. Jim.
Man, if this was our last Tuesday night show, what a last Tuesday night show to go
Yeah,
out.
we went out with a bang. Yeah, for sure. Well, it's
not
not
the
our
last Tuesday
we're
show.
gonna
It's
have
the last weekly.
It's our
Yeah,
it's our last Tuesday show. But
Yeah,
next week is going to be the first Thursday show.
That's correct. That's actually factually correct. Yep. So it's the last non-first Tuesday for those scoring at those scoring at home. So thanks everybody out in the chat, very active. Thank you if you're listening to this on audio. We appreciate you just as well. And so real quick, we're on every Saturday on the Bench Clear Network, and we're on the first Tuesday of every month on Hobby Hotline on YouTube. I want to thank Chris Harris tonight, Dr. James Beckett, in his first Tuesday appearance ever. So a lot of history made tonight. So I'll let Chris play us out with what he always says.
Keep on rocking in the free world. See you on.